soon as you heard someone say the word philosophy, philosophy is perceived as useless, boring, too complicated, impractical, and so on. And a speech on it at 6:30 in the morning sounds about as much fun as a burning stick in the face. But I want to tell you that philosophy is in the ebb and flow of your everyday life. Philosophy is more than just a long list of unintelligible isms used by intellectual snobs thrown around like rice at a wedding. And it's more than impractical ideals adhered to by wide-eyed, jobless college students. Philosophy sits in the very cockpit of your heart, guiding you possibly unwittingly toward a now unknown future. Your perspective on life, your values and priorities, the way you spend your time is all guided by philosophy. And your philosophy may not even be what you think it is. This morning I would like to introduce or reacquaint you with 4 particular philosophies that dominate American life. I will not be making any moral judgments on these 4 perspectives, but simply giving some ideas that you may have heard and give you categories to put those in. To help drive the idea home and help it stick, I'd like you to think of each of these different philosophies like boxes of cereal. All of them have a basic substance. They're all being marketed to us somehow, and we either buy them or we don't. And keep in mind that most of us don't just buy one, but we buy 2 or 3 or all of them and mix them together in some kind of deliciously satisfying concoction. So, let's just dive right in. The first box of philosophy that is extremely prevalent in movies and television and magazines, I like to call secular humanism Wheaties. What's in it? What's the substance? Primarily, man in himself is the ultimate being, and the ultimate authority in all of reality and life centers upon man, or me. Humanity is here to survive, like all other animals, through evolution. And education and democracy is the answer to most, if not all, problems. So that's the substance. That's what's in it. How is it being marketed to us? A phrase you may be familiar with that falls under secular humanism would be knowledge is power. That's something we've seen posters in school. I know that when I was in elementary school, that was a poster that you saw all over the place. And you would hear this often in educational programming, PBS, things like that. You would hear that in places like that. You know you've bought in some secular humanism Wheaties if you feel like education is an answer to most of your problems and most of your friends' problems. You would recommend a class or a book if they have a problem. That sort of falls under the secular humanist philosophy of life. A lot of your problems, you believe that people are primarily good at heart, and you may believe that man came to be through evolution. That would also be another tenet. An example of this, Jenny, imaginary Jenny, is a straight-A student in high school and believes that the way for her to find success in life is to go to college, maybe get a master's degree, and then climb the corporate ladder and become a top-level exec at a Fortune 500 company. Jenny values survival through financial and status-oriented dominance, which is achieved through education. So that's the first philosophy, secular humanist Wheaties. The second is what I like to call existential puffs. This particular one is one of my favorites. What's in it? What's the substance? Meaning is largely based on feelings, and meaning is the ultimate meaning. Now, I know that sounds weird, and that's why this one's the puff. So, but the other things in it are, man is an individual who creates meaning for himself. His existence, emotional experience, etc. are what he's here for. And passion defines meaning in his life. The way this is marketed to us is probably something we'll be way more familiar with than what I just listed as the substance. It's marketed to us through phrases like, do what feels right. It can't be wrong when it feels so right. And follow your heart. something we've heard in many, many movies and many TV shows. Some TV shows you'd see this in are things like Friends, Sex and the City. Most primetime dramas, you're going to see existential cuffs marketed to you. You know you've bought it if you make decisions or determine value or evaluate situations largely based on how you feel. For example, I have talked to Cassia about going to a program tonight, something we've decided to go to, but as it approaches, as the time draws near for us to go, I don't really feel like going. I'm just feeling kind of meh. And so I shouldn't have to go, so I don't. I call her and I cancel. I've made that decision primarily based on how I feel. So that's sort of a existential way of going about life. The third is honey bunches of relativism. So what's in it? Truth or reality are determined by man, not nature or God. Right and wrong are decided by the individual or the community. And a primary way of summing it up, all people understand life from a series of prepositions established by innumerable variables like family, culture, sexual orientation, all of those things. And these all dictate how we come to carry on life. So Gina has her ideas, Jeff has his ideas, Jeremy has his, Cassie has hers, and they're all relative to one another, and neither one has higher value than the other. The way that's marketed to us is, that may be true for you, but it's not true for me. A place we would see this is a movie like Batman, the most recent Batman, The Dark Knight. At the end, he's given his monologue to sort of sum up the meaning of the movie, and he says that people deserve more and better than the truth. That would be honey bunches of relativism. You know you've bought it if you believe your beliefs should never impose upon another's, or another person should never impose their beliefs upon your own. Moving right along, since we're running low on time, the fourth and final philosophy cereal is Pragmatism Bran. Doesn't sound too appealing, but it's what most of us live on every day of our lives. So what's in it? Results are what's most important, and it's primarily concerned with the here and now, not eternal or overarching truths. Values and priorities are selected through testing once and then evaluating the cost and benefit ratio. It's marketed to us by phrases like, if it works, do it, and the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Examples of movies where you might see this is like Ocean's 11, 12, 13, etc. All of those, they're operating under what's working for them. And so they do that. You know you've bought Pragmatism Brand if you make value judgment based on results or benefits. For example, an easy way to look at this. If my car won't start, I look at that as bad. I say, that's bad. If my car starts, that's good. We assign a positive value to what works. We're saying that it's better that the car starts than that it fails to start. The same sort of evaluation is brought to economy, government, family life, redistribution of wealth, things like that. Some other cereals you might want to check out on your own time that you're probably also influenced by are Feminism Flakes, Positivism O's, Hedonist Charms, and many more. So why does it matter what I buy into? Two reasons. One, many of our ideas are ingested from unchecked sources, such as media, movies, which are media, things like that, culture, etc. And two, not all ideas that we buy into are necessarily good for us. They don't necessarily line up with reality and therefore not a help to us. Simply put, because everyone should know what they're eating, and not all cereals are good for you. Most people float on the tide of perspective without ever looking at the direction that it's taking them. Understanding the ebb and flow of your own perspective not only allows you to set a more clear direction for your life, but it also enables you to understand if what you say your perspective is truly aligns with the decisions and choices you make. Thanks very much.